All right. Good afternoon, folks. The time is now 4 o'clock, so I'll call to order the Wednesday, September 17th, 2025 meeting of the Capital Area Transportation Authority Board of Directors and ask our secretary to please call the roll.
Keith Barber, Kelly Blackwell, present. Bill DeShane, Chelsea Dollar, present. Shannon Draheim, Mark Grubner, Derek Nilo,
Present.
John Crush,
Present.
Ed Rogers,
Present.
Jack Schmidt, Eric Tan,
Present.
Nathan Triplett,
Present.
and Stephen Bagnosi.
Present.
All right, that brings us to our first public comment opportunity. This is the time we set aside during each of our meetings to take comments from the public on agenda items. We ask that you please consider filling out a blue card to assist our secretary, and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll have a timer to assist you with that. I will call folks in the order in which I've had cards submitted for this on agenda items public comment opportunity, and then ask if there's anyone else who wishes to offer public comment on agenda items. And we will begin this evening with Mr. Black. Commissioner.
Check, check. Check, check. There we go.
Hey, good afternoon. I just like to remind board members to pull that microphone up to the edge of the table close to you and eat that microphone. And then reaching out to the folks that are watching us on video, I'd like to invite them, if I could, to if they have a concern, comment, or suggestion, to get with Kata and email that in, call that in, or even come on into one of the meetings, and you don't necessarily have to comment. You can just watch and learn. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment at this first opportunity on agenda items this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Under chair's comments this evening, I have only one item, which is to request an excused absence for our colleague Shanna. Is there a motion to excuse that absence? Moved by Derek, seconded by Chelsea. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The absence is approved. We do have a couple more colleagues we're expecting yet this evening, but I believe that they are stuck in track. That brings us to our Chief Executive Officer's report. Brad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are back in session both at MSU and with Lansing School District local schools. Things are going smoothly. I understand that campus operations are settled down, and we're now enjoying football shuttles and regular Spartan service. Congratulations. Shout out to Mr. Chairman and Chair of the E-Tran Board, Mary Clark, also Township Clerk, Mary Clark. And I attended the Chamber of Commerce Policy Committee to discuss regional transit cooperation and what's going on in the counties. Mary wanted to specifically address the Delta Township village, public transit village on the ballot in November. So we had a very good discussion with the chamber, and we hope that we will gain their support for more transit efforts in the future. So good discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bullet I have listed as state budget with a question mark, and that's all I want to say about that. We have no new news. We have no new information. I've been asked about continuity. There is no concern about continuity of service or operations. We've got contingency plans for communication with the state. I think a lot of departments are, but as far as grants and billings and so forth, we're coming to the end of the year. So based on that, there's been a lot of discussion last couple of months, especially last month. There were a number of news reports on the budget and the effect on transit. It's actually gone nationally. Our association, the Michigan Public Transit Association Director, John Domus, and I have co-written an article which may end up in one of the papers talking about the urgency for getting support restored for public transit at the state level. I will pass that along if we are taking up on our offer to continue, finding ways to keep that elevated. Finally, we have been in, fairly, serious discussions with, a local regional partner. Okay, a local regional partner, to actually join us, in the building downtown, at the Greyhound Building. We believe that this would make, sense, because then you would have public meetings there for the three-county area when it comes to planning things. You're gonna have a lot of, city hall activity, and so, having all your planning, regional planning in one, spot made sense to us, and we will keep you abreast of how close we come to that, but, we're drawing pictures right now to see if we can make that a reality. That's my report, sir.
Thanks, Brad. Questions or comments on Brad's report? Mark?
Referred to it as the Greyhound voting, that's what we're really naming it, I like it, but
I don't know the answer to that yet.
it's convenient, they pull it out, so they don't provide any service here anyway, so not like an add to it.
No, but we've also done some of their cool original signage down in the basement, and so part of the idea was to restore that back to, give it back to the public as the icon that it was built in, so I think a lot of people remember it as a Greyhound building. So, but it's kind of, thank you for the question, and, I kind of veered back into the serious answer here. Is this was done by a well-known architect whose name escapes me at the moment, but he did most of the iconic Greyhound buildings that are being restored, and so there's some real neat features of this building that we want to celebrate with downtown again, and let them come back and look at the building where they had their wedding reception, and send off to people on their honeymoon, people going to Vietnam War who were dropped off. So, I don't remember what your question was, but yes, great. Sorry.
I noted with interest, Mark, the new renderings for the elevation now that it's been redesigned, focusing on a neon sign, and thought that that might lend some credence to your prior argument about incorporating neon into our building across the street.
That's correct, when it said there was no neon in the original Greyhound sign.
That is correct.
That's true.
But that does not, that's just good, I'm sorry. That's just good research, because I know you like custom. So that doesn't mean we're not gonna have neon to match. We were just saying that it doesn't have neon in the agreement. What do you store? Thank you.
So,
What is the status of the renovation and what is the potential? Vote for movie.
So, thank you for the question. I believe that through 26, we will be, we're in the preliminary plans right now. We've gone through, talked with Tri-County about converging, but we're also doing this in a comprehensive fashion, so try to get into the building, with minimal amount of renovations based on the grant. That would probably get in there between 26 city halls being home. But we also want to plan in a fashion where we put the elevator and other things that are going to be required for expansion if we move, north there and build, an addition. So we want to make sure we do this, kind of in a comprehensive plan fashion and build the neighborhood, out. And so, the status of that, we're doing, kind of comp plans right now. Bubble diagrams, how many people can get in there, preliminary planning of that. So I would expect by the end of the year that we'll have some pretty good plans drawn up.
other questions or comments on Brad's report? Yes, go ahead, please.
Is it correct in interpret your statement about contingency planning for the snow state budget by October 1st? That we have the financial means to keep operating on an interim basis?
Yes, and probably that head on, yeah, that's exactly where we by policy have reserves, but also any state year and a half ahead of their grades. We do what's called pre-award authority, so we pay for things that get reimbursed and have plenty of operating cash. I wouldn't want to say that out loud, it's not. Okay.
Other questions or comments on Brad's report? Seeing none, and since Brad mentioned them by name and because it's a matter of public record, if you know where they are, we give a more fulsome update about the building. The executive committee of the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission approved the recommendation to the full commission that they relocate their office, into, our building to co-locate with CATA, and that proposal will be taken up a week from today at the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, full commission meeting. And we'll report back to the board after that time. So that's it.
Don't tell me one, just.
Like I said, it's a matter of public record, you know where to look, so. We're not on the cat out there. All right, if there's no other questions or comments on Brad's report, then we'll move to our proposed consent agenda, which includes 8 items for the board's consideration this evening. The first is the approval of the minutes of the August 20th, 2025 board meeting. The second is the approval of the minutes of the August 20th, 2025 closed session. I'll note that board members have hard copies of this at your seat. Please feel free to review those, but then either leave them at your chair or hand them in to Tina after the meeting. The next is the treasurer's report for July 2025, the CAB board meeting schedule for fiscal year 26, the legal counsel recommendation, the 12th amendment of the agreement with Ingham County to provide funding for a CAB rural service inspection and services, the public transportation agency safety plan targets, and the cellular services for fiscal year 2026. Does any member of the board desire to have any of these items removed from the consent agenda to our discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second by Mark. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The consent agenda is approved as presented. We have one discussion agenda item this evening, and that is the First Amendment to a contract of employment regarding our CEO and the Eaton County Transportation Authority. Brad, would you like to speak to this item?
You'll recall 3 years ago, you gave me the opportunity to work with E-Tran directly. We've also afforded them in return a ex officio, non-representative, if you will, Boise. I've had great communication with them, to most people's surprise, that 3-year contract comes to an end this month. And so, my understanding is that E-Tran and Board and Delta are fingers crossed moving forward on village option in November, which could then open up, talks between, all parties involved and to find out what Delta wants to do with the public transit. So what does that mean? That means E-Tran needs a slight extension to the end of the year. What you have in front of you is the authority for me to extend that contract with E-Tran for 3 months to the end of the year. All terms stay the same until we see the election.
Questions on this item? Mark?
There's just a military doubt, there's one military else.
Correct.
Also made sort of, like in a sort of junk paper or something. I think the ballot was printed. The election ballot.
My fancy footwork here may be due to the fact that the grant is running out, that we had, that's keeps my office. So this experiment for 3 years was done with a state grant that's running, funding runs out, and so this permanent funding to keep that relationship going is required. This board gave us the direction to explore that, but we needed to get skin in the game. They're trying to get skin in the game, so this failed, or we did not reach successful terms in an agreement, and I would not be working in E-Train land. Again, thank you for the clarification, sir.
Go ahead, Eric.
So where would the funding come from to pay for the extension? The grant.
So I believe there is enough to go through the end of the year.
Not from us.
Not from us.
Yeah, I mean, I think to remind folks where this conversation started, this board said E-Tran has to enter into an employment agreement with Brad for him to be their CEO. Our role here is exclusively to give them permission to enter into that agreement while he's still serving as our CEO as well. So there's no financial obligation on the part of CATA for this. But Brad couldn't enter into this agreement and agree to take this side gig at E-Tran without the board's permission. Other questions or comments? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the First Amendment? Moved by Phil, seconded by Derek. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, saying nay. That motion carries. That brings us to old business. The board has no notice old business to come before it this evening. That brings us to new business. We have one item here, per CATA's policy 400. We've had a recommendation from our nominating committee on slate of officers for the upcoming year. Thank you again to Derek and the members of the committee for being willing to serve. And per our policy, while the slate was presented at last month's meeting, it is before us this evening for approval. As the chair of the committee, Derek, would you like to make a motion? Go ahead.
I move that we adopt the slate that was recommended by the nominating committee of Nathan Triplett as chair, Shannon Drainheim as vice chair, Bill Duchesne as secretary treasurer for the upcoming year, October 1, 2025 to September 30, 2026.
Then moved and seconded. Any discussion? I do want to note that while Shannon's not here this evening, we knew far in advance that this meeting would conflict with the Michigan Municipal League's annual convention in Grand Rapids. So she sends her best and her thanks for the committee's confidence in it, but couldn't be here because of day job obligations. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. I'll just say quickly, thank you to the committee and to the board for your continued confidence in the opportunity to work with you all and with Shannon and Phil as well. All right, that brings us to our second and final public comment opportunity this evening. This is the opportunity we set aside to take comments from the public on any item related to CATA or its operation. Same rules apply. We ask you to please consider filling out a blue card to assist our secretary and to limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will have a timer to assist you. I will call folks in the order in which I had cards submitted and then ask if there's anyone else in the room who would like to offer public comment at this second and final opportunity. We'll begin once again with Mr. Black.
Thank you. I'll bet.
Thank you, Mr. Black. And then we have Mr. Pratt.
Good evening. My name is Greg Pratt. I have some serious concerns. CATA is paying the Advent House Ministry $87,000 this year to provide outreach at the bus station. But when you look at the homeless management information system, there's no real record of those services. HUD rules are clear. If it is not in HMIS, it's not happening. That means the people at Advent House claims to serve at your station are invisible in the data. And it really matters to people that are still sleeping outside the CATA station. This is not just sloppy reporting. This is a failure of service delivery. And it is ties to CATA, false reporting, documents with federal standards. If the Advent House can't document or deliver CATA, should stop paying them and find providers who will. Otherwise, this board is enabling the waste of public funds and allowing vulnerable people to be abandoned. Thank you for your time. And I have a couple of documents I'd like to submit for the record.
Thank you for your comments. And we received the hard copy of the document that you provided to me, and I know it's also sent electronically. And just to know that staff is reviewing it and will communicate back to the board about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, those are all the blue cards that have submitted in advance. Is there anyone else who wishes to offer public comment at this
Are you
second
doing that?
and final opportunity?
No.
All right, seeing none, then as has been our practice while we are working through negotiations with our friends at the ATU, we've had a standing closed session item on this agenda in case there are updates of note on the progress of those negotiations. I understand that this closed session is not necessary this evening. That's correct, Mr. Chair. All right, in that case then, if there's no other business to come before the board tonight, we are adjourned at 4:19 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
I got a hearing problem. Are you able to email that? The copy of your thing?